All right, so this is the video for Friday, January 29th. This is the bell work. What is the following? What is the opportunity cost from the following? A to B, B to C, C to A. I'll show you how to get the first one. We're going to go from A to B. We're going to look at what are we losing. So if we have boats on our x-axis and trucks on our y-axis, then going from A to B, well, we know that we're going to be gaining, let's see, from 9 boats to 7 boats. So we're going to be gaining we're going to be losing 2,000 boats to go from 9 to 7 right here. I'll let you do number 2 and number 3 there, and then which point represents inefficiency and what does point E represent. If you need a refresher on those, you can watch my video from yesterday. So today we're going to be talking about the circular flow model. The circular flow model, there's the market. It could be local, regional, national, or global. So the market is anything in which we exchange goods and services. It could be a physical market like the store or the mall. It could be a virtual market like the internet, but any place where goods and services will be exchanged is a market. Now, we have the factor market and the product market. So the factor markets are the markets where productive resources are bought and sold. And the product markets are markets where producers sell their goods and services to consumers. So in the factor market, these are where you're going to have the factors of production. That's why it's the factor market. So that land, labor, and capital is being sold. So you can sell land, labor, or capital in order to produce something. That is going to be the factor market. In the product market, those are going to be the things that you could buy maybe at the store or something like that. So I have a video that I'm going to show you that is going to be maybe a little bit better at explaining this than I am.
This is Jacob Clifford. Welcome to ACDC Econ. Today I'm going to show you something that's all around you that most people don't even see. It's called the Matrix, and you're inside it right now. A circular flow matrix or model shows how products, resources, and money flow in the economy. Now look at your surroundings. Seriously, take a moment and look around you. The matrix is everywhere.
It is all around us. Even now, in this very room.
In a market economy, there's households, which is just people like you and me. And there's also businesses. Now, businesses sell goods and services to the households in something called the product market. It's not like just one place. It's anywhere things are sold, like online or the mall, the street corner, anywhere you can buy stuff. The computer or phone in front of you right now is a great example. You didn't produce that. A business did, and they sold it to you in the product market. The same thing applies to your chair or pencil or the book over there, everything around you. But to make those goods and services, businesses need resources like workers and machines. In the free market, households own the resources and they're sold to the businesses in the resource market. Economists point out that there's 4 categories of resources or 4 factors of production. The first one is land, which is any natural resource or anything that comes from Mother Nature. Then there's labor, then capital, which is tools and machines. And finally, someone to bring it all together, the entrepreneur. That's why it's called the circular flow matrix. Those resources are being used by the business to produce the products that people turn around and go buy. Now, what about money? Well, it goes the other direction. When you buy your phone in the product market, you had to pay them money. That's called consumer spending. Now, that money makes its way to the businesses, and they call it revenue. But the business doesn't get to keep all that money. They've got to pay for resources, and that's called the cost of production. It's being paid to engineers to develop the phone. Those engineers earn income. Economists break down income in 4 different types that go along with each of the 4 factors of production. They're called factor payments. When you sell land, you earn rent. When you sell labor, you earn wages. For capital, you get interest. And for entrepreneurship, you get profit. So this is it, the circular flow matrix that shows how a market economy works. Now, let me ask you a few questions to see if you really understand the matrix. First question, is your local mall an example of the product market or the resource market? It's both. Some people are there to buy products in the product market, but there's some people who are working or trying to get a job, and that's a resource market. So products, resources, and money are all being exchanged. Okay, next question. Do businesses demand or supply? The answer is both. They demand in the resource market, but they supply in the product market. Households, on the other hand, demand in the product market, and they supply in the resource market. So both businesses and households are supplying and demanding. So far, this model is showing the private sector with just households and businesses. But there's a bunch of important things missing, like national defense, schools, and roads. Those things aren't produced by businesses. So let's add in the government and the public sector. The size and role of the government in the economy depends on a country's economic system, but in most market economies, the government still plays a role. First, the government buys goods and services from businesses in the product market. For example, fire trucks. And just like households, they pay for them. That's called government spending. The government also buys resources in the resource market, like teachers and firefighters. Again, it pays for those resources, which is again called government spending. The government then turns around and provides public goods and services like fire protection, schools, roads, and bridges to businesses and households. The government also pays money to businesses called subsidies or households called welfare. Economists call those transfer payments. There are situations when the government's giving out money, but not for goods and services. It's to meet some other objective, like to alleviate poverty or get companies to produce more fuel-efficient cars. But how does the government afford to provide public goods and welfare and subsidies? Well, they tax businesses and households. Income taxes and sales taxes fund government projects and programs. Now, there's several things still missing from this matrix, including the financial sector where money isn't spent, it's saved and then loaned out, and also the role of other countries with exports and imports. But for now, this diagram gives you a pretty good idea of how the modern economy works. One final thought. In the movie, the Matrix enslaves people.
You are a slave, Neo. Like everyone else, you were born into bondage.
Many people wonder if capitalism and this hamster wheel of constantly spending and earning and spending and earning enslaves people. Now, would your life be better off if you owned Thoreau and just lived out in the woods? I don't know, but what I do know is there's a lot of things you'd have to live without. First, there'd be no cell phones or computers, so say goodbye YouTube. And also, there'd be no modern medicine or hospitals. It would be nice if none of us had to work, but there's a trade-off to that. So does the Matrix enslave us or liberate us?
Okay, so all that is obviously very complicated. But what I need you to know is that anytime the way our economy works is that money goes between producers and consumers. And so a business that makes something, maybe we make widgets. We are both a producer and a consumer. We produce the widgets, but we also consume the raw materials and the labor and all those things in order to make those widgets. So money trades hands between producers and consumers in a circular manner. And so what you need to remember is that the factor market is those factors of production, and those are the things that we're going to use to produce those things. And then the product market is the consuming aspect of those things, right? So we're going to, when we buy something, we are then the consumer, and that is in the product market. Okay. So we're talking about human capital. This is the last of the factors of production in a way. So you can see that human capital is the sum of the skills, abilities, and motivations of people. So investing in the future is an example of human capital. Investing in training of individuals will hopefully lead to production and economic growth. What is an example of someone investing their own human capital or a company investing in human capital? So let's say that we were a company and our company produced something, and the thing that we produced, we were only able to produce a certain amount. We were able to produce 100 of them a day. And we look at our production possibilities frontier and we say, why is it that we think we should be able to produce 150 of these, but we're only producing 100? Well, maybe we could say that the answer is because we don't have the right machines and tools, so the right capital in order to do that. Maybe that is the case. But maybe the case is that our employees are just not skilled enough. And so maybe the best thing to do, instead of buying a new machine or a tool or something, is to invest in our human capital of our employees, to bring someone in, to shut down the factory for a day and let somebody teach us all the tricks and all the things that would make our workers better and more productive employees. And by doing that, maybe we lose one day's worth of production, but now we are able to produce more of whatever we're producing every single day. Maybe we're able to get to that 120, and so it would be worth it. So that would be an example of a company investing in human capital. What is an example of you investing in your own human capital? Well, you're seniors in high school, so the first thing that came to mind probably is something like going to college. As of right now, you don't even have a high school diploma, but if you were to try to go get a job, your job opportunities would be very limited. But going to college would invest in your own skills and abilities and make you then more marketable to the job market. So that might be something that you would consider doing. The chart as mentioned on the last one right here, the effects of education on income. As you can see, somebody having a doctoral degree. So basically, the more education a person has, the more likely it is that they are going to be employed, right? The unemployment rate drops and drops and drops, and this is in 2012. So it drops and drops and drops and drops for more degrees that they have. And then the income is also going to go up and up and up and up, right? So somebody with a bachelor's degree is on average going to have a better chance of being employed at a 4.5% unemployment rate or a 95.5% employment rate than somebody who with no college degree, 7.7% unemployment rate. And they're also going to make more money, an average of $1,066 in median weekly earnings, and compared to somebody with no college making $727. Now you can see that it goes up and up and up and up, and they just grow and grow and grow and grow, except a professional degree makes more money than a doctoral degree. And they're more likely to be employed. And I think the reason for that is a lot of times people go out and get doctoral degrees so that they can become college professors. And college professors don't make a lot of money. Yes, you have doctors and lawyers in here, but you don't necessarily have, you also have a lot of college professors who are bringing those rates down.
Hey, Econ students, this is Mr. Clifford. Welcome to ACPC Econ. Right now, we're going to talk about how the production possibilities curve shifts. You must shift it. You must shift it. It's important for you to get used to the idea of things shifting. In econ, we explain concepts, and we put those concepts to numbers. Those numbers in a graph, and then usually we shift the graph. You're going to see it in micro and macroeconomics, and it all starts with the production possibilities curve. We've established that any point inside the curve is inefficient because we could produce more of each good, and any point on the curve is efficient. And we know that a point outside the curve is impossible or not attainable given our current resources. But what if we get more resources? That's right, the production possibilities curve can shift. There's two things that shift the production possibilities curve: a change in the quantity or quality of resources, or a change in technology. For example, in 1920, there's a certain number of cars and corn that we can produce. But now we can produce way more than we did before. That point right there that was once impossible is now possible. This is because we have new and better resources and because we have better technology. And there's one more option that can shift the curve, which is the idea of trade. When countries specialize in trade, they can get other products at a lower opportunity cost than they produce themselves. That means the production possibilities curve would shift out in the amount that they can consume. It doesn't mean that they can produce more than they could before, but they can get more than before because of trade. Now, you'll learn a whole lot more about this, and you're going to learn about something called comparative advantage. Make sure to watch this video. It's going to help you out. Now, let's get back to shifting the production possibilities curve. I'm going to give you 4 examples, and I want you to figure out what happens to the production possibilities curve for consumer goods and capital goods. Now, a quick reminder. Consumer goods are made for direct consumption, like pizza. Capital goods are made for indirect consumption, so it's like an oven. So capital goods are tools and machinery to produce consumer goods. For each one of these scenarios, draw a separate production possibilities curve and show what happens in each one of the situations. Number 1, what if we have faster computers and better technology? For number 2, what if the country's power plants were destroyed and so they had a decreased amount of electricity they could produce? For number 3, what if there was an increase in the number of people who are unemployed and there was a recession in the economy? And number 4, what if there's an increase in education? Make sure to pause this video and I'll go over the answers. For number 1, if we have new computers and better technology, the entire production possibilities curve will shift outward. We can produce more consumer goods and more capital goods. For number 2, a destruction of power plants would mean we have less resources, in this case electricity, which is super important for an economy. That would cause the production possibilities curve to shift inward. We produce less consumer goods, and we produce less capital goods. And that's exactly what happened in Japan when there was an earthquake and a tsunami. The combination right here, which was efficient, became impossible because the resources were destroyed. Now let's compare that to number 3, when we have a recession, a bunch of unemployed workers. That would not be a shift in the curve, right? The curve does not shift inward because the workers are still alive. Now, if the workers die, that would mean we don't have a resource, the entire curve would shift inward. But the workers are alive, they're just not being used. That means it's a point inside the curve. Remember, a point in the curve is inefficient or it's unemployment of our resources. So workers who are unemployed is a point in the curve, not a shift in the curve. Okay, and for number 4, the last one, an improvement in education would result in a shift outward of the curve. Remember, this is not more workers, it's better workers. The quality of workers increase. This is the idea of human capital. If our workers are better trained, more intelligent, that would cause us to be able to produce more stuff. Tell me.
And the last thing for today is going to be the exit ticket. You've got the exit ticket also on your notes. I think you can answer these questions without my help. And if you need help, you can rewatch that video or rewatch the video from yesterday.